This guy comes up to me and he says, "Hey, you're being followed." Blonde-headed guy with this bandana wrapped around his leg. His name is Lieutenant Strasboro. I was 15 years old and playing with guys that were in their 40s, and I'd had a pair of drumsticks in my hand since I was 7 or 8. The preachers of the day for me were the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and hedonism won for me. Quit school, started selling drugs, hitchhiked to New York City. Fazio was a mafia guy, and just like the movies, he showed up in a Cadillac and a 3-piece suit and carried his briefcase into this room where he met us. They had marijuana fields in Mississippi, and so we actually made a connection that day, and we would buy drugs from Fazio and then sell them on the streets and the college campuses and high school campuses in Ohio. I was walking down the street one day, and out of the clear blue, this guy comes up to me and he says, "Hey, you're being followed by," he says, "don't turn around now, but there's a blonde-headed guy with this bandana wrapped around his leg. His name is Lieutenant Strasboro." That totally freaked me out. I did turn around and see the guy. And I thought, well, maybe I should get my hair dyed a different color. And it was brown, it was long, and I had to trim it up a little bit and dye my hair blonde. The house was surrounded by police vehicles. There was screeching of tires, and police had me up against the car. In jail, I was put in solitary confinement. I began to go through withdrawals, drug withdrawals. I'd been high for, I guess, a couple years without missing a day. And I tried to call out to God. I couldn't even get a prayer out of my lips, and I couldn't figure out how to pray, what to say. My mother was a Scandinavian Lutheran, and my father a bar mitzvah Jew from New York City. I said, "God, I don't know who you are. I don't know if you're Jesus or if you're Buddha, but I need you to show me yourself somehow and get me out of here. If you get me out of this jail cell, I'll do anything for you." Before I prayed that prayer, I couldn't sleep. And after I prayed that prayer, I fell into a deep sleep. When I woke up, a Jewish attorney was waiting for me, asked me if I wanted to be released to a Outreach for Youth center. So on my first day there, they introduced me to a guy named Barney, who was going to be my counselor. And Barney was an old buddy of mine from high school that I used to drink with. Smoked pot together and had chased girls together, and when everybody else was out of the room, it was just me and him. I said, "Let's go grab a beer, man." And he said, "Well, I'm not drinking anymore, actually." He said, I've found something a lot better. I said, "Well, Rick, I'm not into religion." And he said, "This isn't religion." I said, "Jesus isn't religion?" He said, "No." He said, "Religion is man's attempt to find God. Jesus is God's attempt to find man." He says, "Do you want to pray with me?" And I'd never heard a gospel like that in my life. And I said, "Sure. Yeah, I'd love to find out if Jesus is real." And I knew I had a long sentence potentially. And so I went to bed that night thinking about getting up early the next morning and leaving. Overnight, I knew that God was real, and I'd made a connection with God, and my search was over. And I pulled the hair to the side and looked in the mirror, and I was feeling very different. And I saw a set of eyes looking back at me that were clear, and I felt this burden off of my shoulders, and I felt a connection with God for the first time in my life. I had some money left from my last drug sale, and I went out and got a haircut, and I bought a big old thick Thompson chain reference Bible. I came home with a haircut and a Bible filled with Jesus and said, "Dad, Jesus changed my life." And it was made for some interesting conversation. And Dad was happy for me, but very skeptical. Dad's a bar mitzvah Jew from New York. He was a scientist, an inventor, a very successful man. We lived in a predominantly Jewish community. A young lady, she said she was afraid of me because of the lifestyle that I lived, and she heard some girls talking in the hall that there was a Bible study at Bob Lubell's house, and Bob Lubell had become a preacher. And that struck a chord in her, and she thought, if there's a God that can change Bob Lubell, that might be the real God. There's actually a missionary today in Albania, her and her husband. A few years later, my father, he told people that he had seen evidence that Jesus Christ was alive and risen from the dead.